Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Lori Marie Pashota, and I'm the Executive Director of the Mental Health Association of Rhode Island. COVID-19 pandemic is a mental health crisis. Many of us are experiencing anxiety, loneliness, maybe depressions, maybe feeling overwhelmed right now. Some of us may have lost jobs or wages. Some of us are still working, but now we're also expected to homeschool our children. And some of us are living with mental health conditions. And no matter who you are, there are things we can do to care for our mental health while at home during the pandemic. Today's special guest is Vilna Tejeda, and she will teach us how mindfulness practice can increase resiliency. Vilna is a bilingual licensed independent clinical social worker here in Providence, Rhode Island. She specializes in mood and anxiety disorders, academic challenges, and autism spectrum disorders. She has extensive experience working with teens, college students, women, immigrants, members of the LGBTQIA community, and medically compromised students. Thank you for being our special guest today, Vilna. We are delighted to have you here. I can't wait for this information. And I now turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you very much, Lori. And thank you all of you for joining me today. So today I did explain that I will be able to provide the presentation in both languages. So if at any point you find that I'm speaking a little bit too fast or you're missing a concept, please, click right in and unmute yourself and just let me know. But I'm going to be going over just some ideas and things that would help us sort of cope with COVID-19, but also improve our mental health moving forward, okay? So again, some of the things that Lori mentioned earlier regarding how COVID-19 has become a pandemic of fear as well as health. And so a lot of us are experiencing anxiety, depression, and a lot of other symptoms that have affected the way that we eat, the way that we sleep. So sabemos que la pandemia de COVID-19 está afectando como nosotros nos sentimos, la forma que comemos, nuestra forma de dormir, cómo nos relacionamos con nuestras parejas. In addition to that, the demands that we're having, we are being asked to be teachers. You know, like Lori mentioned, we're being asked to have full-time jobs, but also participate in society in some way, checking in with family. And so there's a lot of demands that we continue to have and a lot of restrictions, okay? So the idea is that mindfulness can increase the way that we build resiliency, okay? So la idea es que mindfulness puede aumentar como nosotros podemos incrementar la resiliencia psicológica de cada individuo. So a lot of the questions that we have, including myself, especially with everything that we have going on, is one more thing. Why should I care? You know, why should I worry about one more thing, try to practice another thing? You know, we really don't need any more stuff on our plate. But the idea behind this is that if we introduce some strategies to help us cope with everything else that we're dealing with, then things will be a little bit better in our day-to-day, okay? So I know that a lot of us have experienced anxious eating. I'm one of them, you know, depression, sleep disturbances, emotional dysregulation. So I have little ones, and I know that a lot of them are like, Mom, I want to go to the park. You know, I want to go to the playground. Or Mom, when do we go to the beach? As soon as we hit the 70-degree weather, everybody wants to go outside, right? And so a lot of these things are really difficult for us to sort of talk to our kids or even ourselves to say, you know, I really can't go to the beach right now, or I can't go to the park, or I can't go on a picnic. So if you have experienced any of these things, mindfulness can help regulate some of these symptoms in order for us to be able to cope with everything that's been going on. So some of the idea behind mindfulness is, this is the solution, right? La idea atrás de mindfulness es que la solución is to exercise our brain. The idea behind it is that our brain is actually a muscle, and often we don't think about it that way. You know, one of the things that we know about mindfulness is that it helps us activate parts of our brains that we usually don't use. And so now we're sitting here, and the way that I think about the brain is that we have three sections, right? We have the primitive one, right, which is all the way in the back. We have our midbrain, which is that emotional brain that we're currently living in. And then we have the frontal one, right? That one that talks about executive functioning, problem solving, thinking about thinking, okay? So if you think about the brain as a muscle, and that we have the ability to actually make us stronger, right? So I apologize for those of you that are Spanish speaking. If I'm missing anything, please let me know, because I'm realizing that I'm going more into the English speaking. So let me know if I need to, but just to recap for anyone that did not understand, que es entender que el cerebro es un músculo, ¿verdad? Y entonces lo que no nos han dicho hace mucho tiempo es que el cerebro tiene la capacidad de moldearse y es flexible. 30, 40 años atrás se decía que el cerebro no podía cambiar, que no podía evolucionar después de la adolescencia, pero no es cierto. En realidad podemos cambiar y evolucionar el cerebro en cualquier momento, en cualquier etapa de nuestra vida. So when you ask me, okay, so well, show me how the brain works. We can't pick up a weight and just be like, how do we exercise our brain? And that's one question that I had, because as we know, we were told that, 30, 40 years ago, we could not do this. Now we know that we can exercise our brain. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of exercises that I've been practicing here with my little ones too. So you can do this with children. And so if you look at my screen, I think I have a share with you. If you look on the top left of the screen, you'll see the balloon picture with the little one. That's sort of the idea, to teach a little one how to do deep breathing. And to be honest, babies already do that naturally. The idea behind deep breathing or diaphragm breathing is that you have to think of yourself as a balloon, okay? And you guys that are sitting down, you can actually practice that by putting one hand in your chest and one hand in your stomach. The idea is that when you take a deep breath, the lower part, or whatever hand is at the bottom, should be able to rise above the one on your chest. When you are breathing, you have to breathe with your entire lung. And we sort of get into the pattern of breathing with our upper body, with the top part of our bodies. So if you want to try that while I go over it in Spanish, that'll be awesome. But the idea is you want to breathe through your nose, and you're going to blow the air very slowly, as if you were blowing through a straw. And another way to teach your little ones how to do this when they're frustrated at home is you actually can pick a flower. So I tell my little ones, just pick a flower. And they can pick whatever color flower they want, right? And so they're gonna go, it smells so good. Okay, so you can practice that with your little ones. Para las personas que hablan español, le estoy diciendo que claro, cuando yo menciono que el cerebro es un músculo, no explico la siguiente parte, que cuáles son los ejercicios, porque claro, el cerebro no puede levantar pesas, no puede tomar y montarse en un elíptico, ¿verdad? Una bicicleta. Pero si pensamos en el cerebro como un músculo, ejercicios de este tipo hacen que relaje y reduzca la actividad del cerebro. Entonces, como le expliqué al otro grupo, en el lado izquierdo, por encima de la pantalla, tienen una figura pequeñita de una chiquita con un globo. La idea es que van a respirar y van a crear la imagen de un globo usando la parte completa de los pulmones, o completamente hasta abajo. Cuando llenan los pulmones, entra por la nariz, completamente hacia abajo, y sale lentamente por la boca, okay? So I'm just gonna move on. The next one that I have, and a lot of people are like, wow, yes, of course, the all same traditional meditation. Yes, believe it or not, this practice is very helpful. The idea behind meditation is not that you could do this. This will be great. I mean, I wish I could sit like that for a long time. Those of us that cannot do that, we can do meditation in any place, anywhere that you are. You can do it outside. I'm a huge gardener, so I actually have a bench by my garden. You can do it outside. You can do it first thing in the morning with your coffee. You can do it when your babies are napping. That's my favorite time to meditate, is that quiet time in your house where you just have a moment to yourself, taking those deep breaths. And you could actually implement diaphragm breathing while you do this. And the idea behind meditation is to allow thoughts to come in and just go and have no judgment. So, la otra parte que le quería explicar a la meditación, y yo sé que muchos de ustedes me están mirando como, oh, verdad, claro, una cosa así como siempre, y esa posición que se parece muy difíciles. Para nosotros que no podemos mantener esa posición por largo periodo de tiempo, la meditación es algo que puede ser incorporado en el día a día. Lo puedes hacer por la mañana, lo puedes hacer fuera, lo puedes hacer cuando acuestes tu niño que están tomando su siesta, cuando te tomes el café en la mañana. La meditación es un ejercicio que te va a ayudar a relajar y reducir la tensión cerebral. Okay? And the last one that I want to talk about before we get into really the core of everything is positive self-talk. I'm finding that, you know, a lot of us are thinking very negative, like, when is this pandemic going to end? When am I going to be able to see my family? Where am I going to not be wearing a mask? And for those of us that are like, oh, this is too much, can't even breathe, right? There's a lot of changes and a lot of difficulties, right? And so our minds tend to go to that emotional part of the brain where we say, oh man, this is never going to end. What's going on? We have to sort of take a second, again, take that deep breath and change the way that we speak to ourselves and the way we speak about what's happening. Because, you know, one thing that we do have is that, yes, it is different, and yes, it is difficult, but we have the ability to change the way that we take this information. We can say, okay, so I know today is this and it's hard, and we're going to accept that without judgment. And what can I do with today to make it better? It could be, you know, I get out of work at 4, I'm going to go outside, or I get out, you know, I'm done with work or teaching with my kid, or my child has a day off, I'm going to have a longer bike ride. It's thinking about and starting to, you know, having that conversation saying, you know what, today's going to be hard, but you got this. Today could be a difficult day, but you can do this. And sometimes, you know, throw yourself a little bit of like, hey, you look great. Oh, wow, look at you. You actually dressed up today. You're not in pajamas, right? So give yourself a little bit of that positive energy, because it's essential. When you do that, and what sometimes we forget is that it actually shifts our mentality back to the frontal lobe of our brain, where we're starting to think about thinking, right? Oh, okay, so I'm actually gonna, okay, what is a good color? Oh, blue looks good on me. So let me go in my closet and get something blue, right? And so we're thinking a little bit more, and we're being mindful of what we're doing in the moment. So el último ejercicio que vamos a hablar es el ejercicio de hablarse positivamente. Lo que hacemos con este ejercicio, porque como sabemos, la pandemia está creando mucho miedo. Estamos hablándonos de una forma tan negativa. Nos levantamos y decimos, oh, otra vez la misma cosa. Y eso cansa. A través de un tiempo, nosotros nos cansamos de la monotonía. Pero es importante que empiecen a hablarse a ustedes mismos y decir, ¿tú sabes qué? Hoy me voy a quitar la pijama. Me voy a vestir. El color azul me queda muy bien, me asenta muy bien. Me voy a poner el color azul, como hice yo hoy, ¿verdad? Y hacer un cambio, pero hablarte positivamente. Mírate, hasta pararse en el espejo y decir, mira, te ves muy bien hoy. Qué bien me siento hoy. Hoy va a ser un día distinto. Empezar a pensar en esos, como dice, ese proceso de hablarse positivamente, cambia nuevamente donde el cerebro está trabajando, porque no estamos trabajando en la parte emocional, sino en la parte frontal. And again, guys, if you have any questions, let me know. So for those of you, so this, I know it's a little bit, one of the things that I mentioned at the beginning talks a little bit about why do we do this? And this is mostly, you know, for example, my culture, where we're like, oh no, cotorra vieja no aprendí a hablar, which is like an old parrot doesn't learn how to speak anymore, right? That's wrong. It does not, that's been debunked. Scientists have proven that we can learn. If you are 30 or 20 or 5 or 50 or 60 or 70 years old, you could actually change the way your brain is wired. And that's something that fascinates me. So I get really excited. So if I start speaking really fast, let me know. But this is a great finding. So what it tells us is that we can change the way that our brain operates. And so when we start using, and this is the big part that I want you to start thinking about, when we start using different parts of our brain and practicing something like diaphragm breathing, positive self-talk. Remember I said it went from midbrain to the frontal part of your brain? Guess what? This middle brain, this part starts to shrink and this one starts to make more connections. And that's the idea behind it. So para ustedes que piensan, por ejemplo, oh, no, yo estoy demasiado viejo para aprender estas cosas, estas prácticas. No es cierto. La ciencia ha demostrado que en los últimos años podemos darnos cuenta ya por fin, con evidencia científica, que el cerebro es moldeable. La neuroplasticidad del cerebro existe y nos permite a nosotros cambiar y modificar y adaptar el cerebro a diferentes cosas, no importa la edad. Puede tener 5 años, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 o 60 años. Okay? So the idea behind it is this, that we have the ability to adapt our brain. And so I'm going to play a little video for you, but I'm going to cut it a little short because I went over it a little bit more. And for those of you that are Spanish speaking, if you need me to go over anything, I could answer any question at the end, or we can pause in the middle, okay?
Vilna, can you please turn up the volume? Thank you.
So I'm going to stop it right here. So again, this is, and I can explain it in Spanish, this is similar to what we were talking about, that, right? The muscle. And so again, giving yourself the opportunity to try something new and something different and something that may be foreign to you, like meditation. I mean, what's that? We don't have enough time in the day. If we give ourselves the opportunity to do these things, we open new channels, right? We open new pathways for new behaviors to be learned. And so this is what we are hoping to do so that we can overcome some of this fear. You know, when you're going to the market, I remember going to the market for the first time after 2 weeks. I remember the fear that I had, right? And so what we want to do is to start changing the way that we think. And so instead of being in this part of the brain, we want to shift our idea up here. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I prepared for this. I was home. I have my gloves. I have my mask. I sanitize. I have a whole system. I'm going to be safe and I'm going to do this the best way that I can. And so starting to think about doing these things that can cause fear in a more productive way, acknowledging that it's kind of scary, but also saying that I did prepare for this. I do have the ability to get through this, okay? Let me get to the next one. Sorry, guys. So what works, right? And so I've been talking a lot about exercises, and I've been talking a lot about things that are new and how do we rewire our brain. The idea behind it is, if you really think about, I think this picture sort of talked to me. So I'm a visual learner. You're going to see a lot of pictures in my slide, okay? So yo sé que van a ver muchas, como dice, fotografías y imágenes porque soy una aprendo visualmente, ¿ok? So esta foto, por ejemplo, me da mucha información de lo que mindfulness quiere decir. So this picture gives me a lot of information on what mindfulness is. If you go on a walk, for example, a lot of times you're going on a walk and you see a cluster of things. You're thinking about money, and you're thinking about the house, and you're thinking about, you know, who's sick, and you're thinking about the kids and the project for work, and you're thinking about all these things. Instead, if you look at the little dog is just in the moment. It's like, okay, there's 4 trees in the sun. This is beautiful. The picture is so much clearer. He is just living his best life. And the idea is that, yes, we are limited in going to the beaches and going to the malls and going to movie theaters. But if we take a moment in whatever space you're in and you actually take everything in, the temperature, the smell, the sight, whatever it is that you're doing, it brings you back to the present. You know, we have over 60,000 thoughts a day, and more than 50% we're spending it thinking about what we did yesterday, stuff that happened 3 years ago, or we're thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow. In these times of uncertainty, because we don't know what's happening next, right? We don't know, oh, are they going to open the beaches? How many are they going to open? You know, are they going to open the parks? How many are they going to open? We don't know all those things. But if we stay present in the moment, we will decrease the level of anxiety and we'll be enjoying what we have now, okay? So let's think about mindfulness. And the idea behind mindfulness is, again, being aware of your thoughts, being aware that they can be, you know, they can be negative thoughts or difficult thoughts, but allowing them to be there without judgment, being aware of it and allowing that process to happen naturally, because it will end, it will change, right? Entonces, la idea de mindfulness o atención plena es que puede estar presente sin intenciones de juzgar el momento, sin tener las preocupaciones, sino estar presente. Tenemos más de 60,000 ideas durante el día. Y más del 50% de esas ideas son invertidas pensando en el pasado y pensando en el futuro. Pero no pensamos en el presente. Si pasamos más tiempo pensando en el presente, cambiaríamos la forma de nosotros vivir el día a día. So this video is actually in Spanish. For those of you that do not understand, it's pretty much what I just explained in English, okay? Okay. So guys, any questions so far? We're going to jump into, okay, the payoff, right? What are the benefits? Because everyone's like, okay, so I'm going to do all this work. I'm going to exercise and give myself some time, and I'm going to go outside and relax in the sun, and I'm going to go in a stroll with my dog. I mean, all these really difficult things, right? But if you really think about it, here we have so many benefits, right? So we talked about all of those symptoms at the beginning. And by the way, I didn't list all of them, but if we really, you know, if we were to list them, it would be too many. But I just want you to look just to the left side of the screen that I'm sharing with you. We're talking about all of the benefits that actually could be applicable right now during this pandemic, right? We're going to have more flexibility in thinking, right? We're not going to have as many conflicts. So our life is going to be a little bit easier. Our stress is going to be reduced, right? This depressive symptoms have been proving to decrease, right? If we are mindful every day in our day-to-day, emotional reactivity will definitely be addressed because we are going to learn to modulate those emotions a little bit better. But the big one is increasing immune functioning. That's the big one for me, because I have to keep reminding myself, okay, don't get too nervous about this. It's okay. It is going to be difficult. Yes, we have to have a certain level of anxiety to be able to be cautious when we go out to do our shopping and to take care of our families, but enough that we can be functioning, right? We need to be functioning. And so we have to make sure that we regulate those emotions up and down, because that does take a toll on your immunity. All right. So I just want you to take a look at that piece. And when you're doing these shoppings, right, when you're shopping and when you're going to the store and you see this person without a mask and you see this, I know, you know, right, my spidey senses, they tingle in the back of my neck. It's like, oh God, I got to get out of this aisle. It's saying, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath, not too close to the person. Just take a deep breath. Go around that person. Go to the other aisle to remove yourself. We have time, so we can wait for that person to move. We can move ourselves and say, you know what, I'm gonna leave the cereal aisle and I'm gonna go get the milk. And just take that extra little bit of time, because you're still gonna go there. So thinking about thinking again will help reduce some of those levels of anxiety and keep you healthier. All right, so we did talk a little bit about, but I just want to, again, because my brain is so, right? We talked about the brain so much, but I just want you to take a look at the red part that we talked about the brain, right? The temporal lobe. Look at that. We talked about hearing, behavior, emotion, memory, short and long term, right? Fear, fight or flight, right? This is what's active right now, guys. So this is one of the things that I have to keep checking in with my kiddos, because, you know, some of your kids are dysregulated right now. Some of them are feeling they miss their friends. They had such a great routine. They had, you know, an hour of class and they had a break and then they had snack time for some of the little ones. Almost all of our younger kids had recess, right? If not, they had gym if they're older. And so right now, because a lot of these things are not there, we have, you know, it's really easy to move back and regress into that emotional brain. If we incorporate some of the strategies to sort of move some of those thoughts forward, we could change the way that we're thinking and feeling a little bit better. And so if you look at the yellow part of the brain, which is the one that I was talking about, right there, we're talking about regulation of emotions, which is the big one. Abstract thinking, problem solving. So now we're not going, oh my God, I'm throwing a tantrum with my 2-year-old on the floor because he wants to go to the park and the parks are closed. It's thinking about how do I think about this differently. All right. Okay, so the question is, all right, so I do all this exercise and then what? I'm super strong. Here's my muscle. You know, and we can't see it, right? When we go to the gym, we start to see the biceps and we start to see the toning. When it comes to exercising the brain, we can't visualize that. However, one way to realize if you are building that is to think about resiliency. So think about mindfulness as building the exercise to build the muscle. And then think about once that muscle is developed, what do we call it? It's not a tricep, it's not, you know, a bicep. It's resiliency. And so that's the way that I like to call it, right? And the idea behind resiliency is that we have the ability to adapt to any difficult period of time, whether it's a traumatic, whether there's threat, again, even a pandemic, right? And so that's why we've been talking so much about, think about how do we make this time more bearable and how do we come healthier on the other end of this, okay? And if we're feeling negative feelings, guess what? It's okay to feel those things at this time. How do we manage it? Okay. So para las personas, discúlpenme que no hablé mucho en español en el slide pasado, pero estaba explicando que, por ejemplo, los músculos decimos, ok, so estamos ejercitando los músculos, pero ¿cómo nos damos cuenta si los músculos están fuertes? Porque si voy al gimnasio, digo, oh, tengo el músculo del brazo muy fuerte, o tengo el músculo de la cadera muy fuerte, o de la espalda, pero no tenemos un nombre para el músculo del cerebro. Pero para saber si estamos en un lugar donde hemos desarrollado músculo en nuestro cerebro, podemos decir, oh, ya sabemos. Porque la resiliencia psicológica quiere decir que tenemos la habilidad de adaptarnos a situaciones difíciles. Y si podemos hacer eso, imagínense, podemos superar este periodo difícil que tenemos y estar en un mejor lugar cuando se termine. So this would be probably a better example. Again, visual learner. So I apologize for all the pictures, but resiliency looks like this. So how does it look like? You told me what it is, but how does it look like? And the idea is I couldn't do it better. This little circle does everything for me, right? The little circle has been trying to get up the hill and unsuccessfully. The idea is that you learn to adapt, right? So that you can achieve the goal that you want. And some, I would say some signs that demonstrate that someone is resilient is optimistic, right? The person has belief of self, right? The positive self-talk will lead you to that piece, right? Control of self, and that's when you start to regulate yourself. The willingness to adapt. Okay, so I can't go through this aisle because this person doesn't have a mask, but I do need this cereal, but I also need milk. So you know what? I'm gonna just leave, get the milk, come back and get the cereal later, okay? All right, so I know I've talked a lot. Yo sé que he hablado mucho. Yo quiero dar la oportunidad de hacer algunas preguntas. I know I've explained a lot of stuff and I got really excited in some places there. So I want to leave it open for conversation or questions because there's a lot of stuff that I threw at you. And I want to know if you had any questions at this point. So if you don't have any questions, I want to actually thank you all before I lose all of you, but I want to thank you all for coming and taking your time during the day. Oh, I see. Laura, you have a question?
I do. If someone wanted to begin a daily meditation practice in order to build our brains, or the muscle that is our brain, what would that look like? How do you get started with meditation if you want to cultivate mindfulness and resiliency?
I think the biggest part, because so I was one of the believers that I was like, oh no, my brain goes 1,000 miles an hour. I can't meditate, right? The idea of meditation could be whatever you make it. So it depends what you need. I needed sound. So I started with singing bowls. So if you are one of those people that are like, oh, you know what? I can't do this silent thing. If you like silence, guess what? Go somewhere quiet and just be in the moment. It's almost activating all of your senses and just being in the moment and just saying, if you're sitting in the grass, how does it feel? The temperature, the feeling, it's just being in that moment and just allowing your mind to just wonder and just let it be free. If you're like me, that I need to have some type of something to hold me down and ground me, think about meditation music, sound. Some people actually enjoy sound. Some people actually can do it, in a space that they love, whether it is their garden, their bedroom. Find a place that makes you feel very comfortable and allow yourself to just empty your brain. So la pregunta que tuvo Laura es, si alguien quiere empezar una práctica de meditación, ¿cómo vamos a hacerlo? Y la idea que yo le estaba explicando a ella es, por ejemplo, para todo el mundo es diferente. Es importante encontrar la forma que trabaja para ti. Si a ti te gusta el silencio, bueno, pues usa el silencio. Lo que tienes que hacer es dejar que la cabeza, los pensamientos vayan y vengan y dejar la cabeza que se relaje. Activando todos los sentidos, el olfato, la visión. Si puedes visualizar colores, mucho mejor. Pero si eres una persona como yo que no puede estar en un lugar silencioso, prende música. Pon una música de meditación para que empieces el proceso de relajación. Sorry, I had to translate for you and us. Any thoughts? Any of you are having any of the same feelings with, at home, especially?
Most definitely. Hi, my name is Elsie. I work in social services. So when this whole pandemic hit, it was very overwhelming because, I was on call 24 hours. I have to make sure the children are safe, especially now that they're home. So I was in my head and I didn't know, what to do. I'm like freaking out. I'm losing sleep. And then I started listening to this app. It's called Calm. And it has so many sounds. So it has like the rain sounds, thunderstorm, beach waves, and that's wonderful. Like it helps me sleep so good. And also like during the day, like if I'm feeling like anxious, I also play that as I'm working. So thank you, because yes, it does help.
Well, hi, Rose. Thank you so much. But the big thing about it is to practice it all the time.
Yes.
We have the tendency of thinking about self-care as being selfish, and it's not the same. Self-care is caring for yourself. When we are natural empath, when we are taking care of other people,
Yes.
we are the last one on our plate. And the big thing is, remember that even if you do 5 minutes between visits or between calls to take a deep breath and get up and do things for yourself, you actually become a better provider.
Yes,
You
definitely.
actually do a better job, and you are more in sync with yourself. So I'm very proud of you. Good job. So exciting. Nice talking to you.
Hi, Vilna. Sorry, I have a question as well. So I know you said you spoke about practice. Is there like a certain amount of time that like you would see like a difference? Because I find myself like getting very frustrated, like trying it a couple times and then just feeling like, okay, this doesn't work, and like I guess feeling like defeated around it. I don't know if there's anything additional on that.
So to answer your question, it is frustrating, and it is hard. It's like if you were going, so say for example, you were going to the gym for the first time after not going to the gym for, I don't know, 6 months or a year, or like me, like 3 years, right? And you get in there and you're like, I gotta do this, and you have all these hopes and you're expecting it to be like this. The idea behind it is that we have to remember that it's a process. So if you can tolerate 2 minutes or 10 minutes, then do 10 minutes. If you can tolerate 5 minutes, just remember, increase it 2 more minutes the next day. It's really difficult. It's the same thing as if you were building a muscle in your body. And I think it's thinking about it that way, that, okay, so I'm going to let it rest today and I'm going to work on something else. So try a different exercise. So if you're doing diaphragm breathing, or if you're doing meditation, or if you're just being present in the moment, try something different the next day, but also increase the amount of time that you're in there, because over time it'll get easier. And trust me, I was a non-believer because I call it the squirrel effect. I'm like, squirrel. So I would just lose myself and just be gone for a second and would get very frustrated. But I think it's just, again, is the repetition and trying it. We know that research is showing us that with between 6 and 8 weeks, we do see changes in the brain already. And that's what you want to give it, at least 8 weeks to see the difference. But you will feel better within 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because I feel like I was going at it like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and do a 30-minute meditation, and yeah, no, that didn't work.
Little by little.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense, thinking about it as a muscle. Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I may add, I would also say I've been meditating for some years now too, and it was helpful to hear from a teacher that there's no goal of meditation. It's not a goal-oriented practice where you try to achieve a particular thing like clarity of mind or clearing your mind. Your mind will never be 100% clear for more than like a few seconds. That's just not the nature of the human mind. The idea of meditation is to just observe the mind without judgment and let thoughts or feelings or images pop up, recognize that they've popped up, and then let them go without like attaching to them. And so that's been helpful for me in my practice. And I do find myself sometimes getting frustrated to say, gosh, I just really wanted 10 minutes of peace, but my mind is, thinking about what I have to do or what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But then I have to remind myself that the meditation is simply just to be present with what is and breathe and not get attached.
Yeah, thank you for that additional addition to it. It really struck me when Vilna spoke about usually thinking about the future or usually thinking about the past, and I'm like, I find myself doing that a lot, especially like during this time where it's a lot of anxiety. So thank you so much, Vilna, for today. Put a lot of things into perspective. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Okay, so again, thank you to the Rhode Island Mental Health Association, and to you, Lori and Jen, for the opportunity. Y a las personas que hablan español, nuevamente me disculpan si tiene alguna pregunta, yo le puedo contestar, pero gracias por su participación. Thank you for everyone, you know, to everyone that were able to take time and come do this with me. I hope that you find some of these things helpful in your day-to-day, and that, you know, you use it from time to time for yourself. And I guess that the biggest thing here is to remember to practice self-care through all this, because this is taking a toll on all of us. And it is okay that we're not okay right now, but we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vilna. This was a terrific presentation, and I loved the images you found.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate your support during this time. And if you have any further questions, comments, suggestions, or if there's something the Mental Health Association could do for you or your organization or agency, please let us know. My email address is Laurie, LAURIE .PISCIOTTA@gmail.com. And Vilna, do you want to provide your information to people who may have follow-up questions?
Yes, if you have any other questions, you can actually shoot anything to my email. For my business, Your Mental Wellness is my business, and my email is yourmentalwellness@gmail.com. So please shoot any, and again, one word, yourmentalwellness@gmail.com. So any questions that you have, and I'll get back to you. But again, thank you for coming and participating today.
Thank you, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Stay well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.